Welcome back to another episode of Chad and Steve Have a Podcast. In this episode, we feature some salty language. So consider this your parental advisory.
Jared Polin is probably one of the most recognizable photographers around. His hair and his I Shoot Raw shirts are pretty much synonymous with his brand, Fro Knows Photo. But you can't really say it like that. It's Fro Knows Photo. I don't think I'm doing that right.
No,
FroKnowsPhoto.com is the way he says it. Am I doing that right, Jared?
Yeah, it's close. It was
Okay.
good.
His videos cover everything about photography, whether you want to learn tips and tricks so that you can take better pics, or you are a serious professional who wants to stay up to date with everything current in the industry. His camera and gear reviews are the best. I mean, he really he puts these brands to real world tests, which I really like to see. Professional photographers have him critique their websites and portfolios. That's actually one of my favorite kinds of videos he does. And let's see, he's got an app. He sells Lightroom presets. He's got photography guides, lots more. Oh,
you know what's
podcast.
funny, Steve?
Hmm.
You know what's funny?
What?
You talk about your favorite or the critiques, and that's the hardest fucking ones to get people to watch because they're the hardest things to title.
Yeah.
It's just in the whole game of the YouTube world, it's very difficult to title those well to get people to watch them. But what I will tell you, I'm interrupting again, but what I will tell you is the watch time of the people that watch are incredible.
Oh,
the watch time is extended.
I learned so much from those things. You don't have to be a photographer to enjoy those. It's all about how these people are presenting themselves on their websites, and you critique just the way their website is laid out and how their portfolios look and which ones are. I mean, to me, I find a lot of value in that. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
Let me finish my real flowery introduction here. So let's see. As you probably already know, Jared's got one of those very large personalities that he kind of demands attention wherever he is, and plus he's got a cat, which kind of puts him in like a A-lister as far as I'm concerned. So I was happy to meet Jared for the first time. I think we met. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago at a YouTube event down in San Bruno, down at the headquarters, and really ever since then, you're like a business inspiration for me.
Because I'm interrupting again.
You go ahead and interrupt.
You bring up these things, and I can't expound on them.
Like, we're gonna expound on them.
But I met you there. You had more subscribers than me, and I said to you, "Why the fuck aren't you speaking? And why am I speaking? And why aren't you speaking? You have more than me."
The question is, why weren't you speaking, Steve?
I was just there. I was just some schlub. I'm like, I just want to hear what's going on. They invited me. It was like this. It was a YouTube thing, and I'm not even sure what the topic was. But okay, you know what? By the way, everybody, welcome Jared Polin to the show. That's my intro.
Thank you.
One of the things that you said at that conference, it wasn't even a conference. It was just like a meeting, right?
It was to help newer YouTubers grow, and then I find out that you're bigger than me anyway. So,
but you were like, there was like 3 guys talking, and then the first 2, I don't remember who they were. They're like, yeah, we're building our channel. We're gonna do this, and then you come on there, and you're like, bam! I mean, everybody in the room just was like, "Oh my god, it is Fro Knows Photo."
When you sit on panels, yes, I have a personality, and people love it or hate it, which is fine. I was gonna say that I need to watch my facial expressions on these things because I don't have resting bitch face. I got resting dick face because people just think I look like a dick. They're just like, you, like, look at your face. Because I did this on a call yesterday. I was just like this the whole time. The whole time. I mean, if anybody's listening to a podcast, you didn't see that look, but it was just one of those, like, just, yeah, it depends on what mood I'm in.
Well, that one of the things speaking of that mood is you had this thing a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, on Instagram on a story, and you did this thing called "Don't Be an Asshole," and it was about having your camera gear stolen. Don't let your camera gear be stolen.
Not me. I didn't have my camera gear stolen. Let's preface that.
It was your warning not to let people have that happen. And I got to tell you, here's a quick story. I actually went to photography school. I got an associate degree in photography for whatever that was worth back in 1988, and moved out to San Francisco, 1990. And like it had to be like the first week we were in the city, and I was shooting photos everywhere. We were in Chinatown at night, and I thought, okay, well, let's go get a bite to eat or something, and put all the camera gear where in the trunk of the car. Yeah, sure enough, we came back. It was all gone. All of my gear was gone. And so when you said that, I thought, yeah, that's what I needed.
Yeah, the hashtag don't be an asshole thing is just, it's simple. Don't leave your shit in your car, because most of the thefts that happen from gear being stolen happens in cars, because people leave their stuff there and somebody followed them or saw them shooting in the park and was like, okay, I'm going to call somebody and we're going to break into their car when they go somewhere. So it's just like, keep the gear on yourself. And then people are like, but what if you get robbed on the street? I'm like, well, whatever. Don't leave it in your car. And if you're going to go to lunch or something and you have too much gear, go to the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A, except if it's Sunday. And that's what I tell people, like, take the gear with you. I've rolled multiple bags into a 4-person booth for one person because it's my stuff. And if something happens to it, it's my fault. And I got, I did a whole podcast on the hashtag don't be an asshole with a guy in Europe who got like $8,000 or $9,000 worth of gear stolen from the car, including an iMac of all things in a car. And people were like, you are victim blaming. And I was like, I Googled victim blaming. I read what it definition was. And I was like, why, yes, I am. I am victim blaming. Why? Because he was an asshole. And I'm not saying as a person the guy's an asshole. I'm just making a point that hashtag don't be an asshole. Don't leave your shit in the car. And then, why would you leave hard drives in the car with important images on that you can't get back? Why would you leave your fucking computer in the car, for God's sakes? It's just, don't be an asshole. And the whole point is just to drive that home so that when people get out of their car, they think of me saying hashtag don't be an asshole, and then hopefully it spreads, and then there's less stolen gear.
Hashtag don't be an asshole.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was that guy. But
it was 1988. It was a different time. George Bush was coming in the first. He beat Dukakis in a landslide, and then it was going to be 4 years of read my lips.
One of the things go ahead, Chad.
I was just let's rewind, because I watched a video. I think it's your channel trailer on your YouTube channel. It's called "This is the End of Fro Knows Photo After 9 Years."
That's called a clickbait title, by the way.
It's a great clickbait, and you used caps at the end to really drive home that this is truly the end. However, the meat of that video is fascinating. So for people who maybe don't know the backstory, I found out that the afro has always been there. The first video, perhaps you weren't as fluent as you wanted to be, but the afro was certainly not as voluptuous as it is now, but it was there. So could you kind of just rewind and help us get back to how YouTube started for you?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for watching that video. That video. I'll talk about the video first, and then we'll go back to the past. But the title was chosen for when we hit 1 million subscribers to do a video, right? And I knew that if I said we did it, we got 1 million subscribers, like 23,000 people would watch it, and it gets so demoralizing when you know you have solid content that you want people to watch, and you can't get somebody to watch it because. And I'm not an algorithm bitcher. I'm not one of those people that's like, the algorithm doesn't like me. It's not the algorithm. It's fucking you. But if you don't...
Right? Everybody always wants to blame the algorithm.
Right, but if you don't have a good title that gets people engaged, but it's not only getting them engaged, they click. It's one thing to click, but it's another thing if they stay. And so we know with our videos that the watch time is... Photo News Fix gets 65 to 70% watch time every episode, whether it's 7 minutes, whether it's 9 minutes. It's 70% watch through. And that's literally all the way across the line, and it only drops off at the end for the last 20 seconds when I'm signing off, right? So we, anyway, the million video, we knew we wanted people to watch, and we named it, Is This the End of Fro Knows Photo? Because we wanted to engage people, and then people just love it. The watch time on that is, I think it's like a 14-minute video. It's probably up in the 60%, 70% range. But the way that it starts is a 30-second clip of a longer 10-minute clip of me failing in 2008 to make a test video for something that was going to be called Pro Photo 101. I was going to start this website about Pro Photo 101. There's going to be reviews and all of this stuff. And I'm failing for 10 minutes straight with a camcorder recording. I even put I didn't have microphones or anything, so it was a tape camcorder. I put a envelope on top with a rubber band because I thought that maybe that would accept the audio better when I was speaking. Like, yeah, exactly. And so I just failed miserably in front of the camera time and time again. It was like, hi, my name is Jared for Pro Photo. No. And it's like, no, it's a shitty background I set up. But the crazy thing is, the more that you watch that video, the more you start to see there's something hiding under there. It just wasn't ready to work yet. And I didn't start YouTube for another 1.5 to 2 years after that. So that was 2008. I didn't start till June 2010. And part of the reasons for starting, one, I didn't like the content other people were putting out. I watched a video that some guy put out reviewing a shitty lens versus a pro lens and telling us why the shitty lens was better. And it had like 36,000 views in 2009, 2010. And I'm like, this is bullshit. And so instead of telling the guy that he's an asshole in the comments, I have a camera that shoots 5 minutes of video before it stops recording. I know what I'm talking about, I think. I'm going to start making videos and put the money where my mouth is. I'm going to do it my way. So that was one of the reasons I started. The other reason was in the idea that I would get more jobs if I put my work out there, and that never happened. That didn't happen early. What happened is people started asking questions. And I figured if that person has a question, then somebody else has the same exact question, and I should go ahead and make a video about every piece of content, or every video. Every question that somebody asks, I should turn into content. And that's what I did. It was a video every day for the next 7 years, I think. It averaged out to like 1 video a day for 7 years. It was a different, it was like, to me, it was like vlogging before vlogging was a thing, because people would tune in to see what was I going to do next.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of the way, I think that's a common story with a lot of people, at least back in the day when they started a YouTube channel, is you started for kind of a different reason than it developed into. A lot of people started because they think, well, I'm going to just use this as a way to promote my real business, and then all of a sudden that becomes the business. And then it kind of goes back to where I think where you are now is where YouTube isn't your business. It's probably, like a lot of us, a big component of it, but you've got so many different things. I mean, I was trying to list off everything, all your different income streams. And, when I first met you in San Bruno at that event, I remember you threw out some numbers to me and I was like, damn, this guy's killing it. I mean, you were really doing some really good sales even back then.
It was sales off of, I mean, a lot of people thought you made your money from YouTube. Yeah. Only the big, I mean, if you're doing like 10 million views a month, you're probably bringing in what, 40-ish, 35, 40,000 in AdSense, give or take. It varies for everybody. I've never hit 10 million views a month. I do about 2 to 3 million depending on what we're putting out, and as of late it's been a little less because we're working on a project. But you're looking at, it's not a bad chunk of change for one person. But I got 2 employees. We got healthcare. We've got the Fro factory here that I bought and rent to myself, which is nice. So the revenue streams have to be diversified off of YouTube. And it was like that from day one. I mean, not day one, but I put out a video guide in 2012 called the Fro Knows Photo Guide to Getting Out of Auto. It cost me $7,500 to produce. It was 3 hours. We figured out how to get it to be a digital download. And it was just selling. There weren't a lot of people selling online education like that in 2012. And I didn't sell anything for 2 years on my website. So I just built up the goodwill of giving out free content that when I did ask for the sale, it was insane. There was like $2,000 days and $5,000 days and $3,000 days, all for like 4 or 5 months. And then for the years later, it continued to sell and sell and sell and sell. And it's just like, it's pretty insane what you can do if you start to build a following and then monetize through multiple streams. Your people will thank you for all the free stuff that you give them.
So sometimes merchandise can be like the most accessible things
Yeah.
for a YouTube creator to kind of get behind. When did I Shoot
10
Raw
days.
start?
10 days
And
into the 10 days after I launched YouTube. So June 10th, after I launched June 1st, I had my first t-shirt up for sale.
How many of those shirts have you sold?
I could not tell you the number.
do you know how many designs you have?
Well, the original design is the most important. There's probably 6, 7 designs, but the OG raw black is still the top seller, and that was the first one that came out. And it, I don't know, it has to be 10, 20,000. I have no idea, because it's not the money maker. It's not meant to make money off of shirts. It's meant to be, a branding exercise. And the reason I started selling merch is I'm like, well, I used to work with bands and they made money off of selling T-shirts, so why don't I do this? And so the I Shoot Raw shirt started. I sold them for $11.99. I made like $3 or something at the beginning. I shipped them all myself from my brother's bedroom. I hand wrote out every envelope, took them all to the post office, did it. Yeah, merch. Merch was, but the problem with merch today is if you give up all of the work to a Teespring and all of these people, the percentages that they take are asinine. So you have to sell a shirt for $25 to even like the numbers. When I looked at what they charge for a shirt, I'm like, guys, I buy the blanks for $2.32 each for good blanks. Okay, I know what the cost of printing is for the front. I know what the cost of the printing is for the back. I'm all in at like $5 on a one color ring spun cotton nice shirt. And you guys are charging $15 cost to me, and I got to sell the fucking thing for, a ton of money. It's just bullshit.
No, it's not worth it. I think I think most people, unless you have a really large following of people who want to sell, it just doesn't make any sense. Other than what I do is, I sell the branded shirts just as like a goodwill thing. It's not. I have no intention of making money. I don't even know if I do a profit on those. I guess I must have some sort of a markup. I haven't even checked on that in ages. I probably make $1 off of each shirt or something. So it's not. It's
well, the funny thing is, people are willing to pay $22 to $25 for the shirts that we have. I did a few charity things through one of the sites. I think the site's called Bonfire, and it's one of those where you can put up a shirt design and let it run for like 2 weeks, and it has a counter on there for how many you've sold. Then you can also have it tie in with a charity, so it's like how much is going to charity. And when the wildfires happened in Australia a while back, we did an Australian wildlife shirt. They designed it for free. They have printers all over the country so that when it does close at 2 weeks, you got printers all in those areas and in other countries so that they can get it out. We raised $17,000. $17,000. That's not how much we took in. It was $17,000 in profit that went, and I think I was selling the shirts for $25, and I've never sold a shirt for $25, and put out some content around it, put it in my Photo News Fix, send it out through my email, and it's $17,000 to charity for that. I was like, well, I wish that was going in my pocket, but we're doing it for a good cause, so it's just like that rub. You're like, shit, I could have made money, but you're like, but wait, it's for a good cause.
So you have a team. How long have you had a team at your business or businesses?
So I had my first employee would have been in the 2013, like 2.5-ish years in. That first employee didn't pan out the way that I wanted it to be, and then one of my current ones who's still with me for like 7 years, 8 years almost, took over from that person and did what I wanted. Basically, what I mean did what I wanted is a photo, knows photography, great with stills, shoots video, edits video, audio engineer, a predator, as they say, somebody that can do everything. Then we added Dan, who's a great editor. Dan can't shoot worth a damn. Is that correct? Yeah, that's right. But Dan can edit the shit out of the videos, and so we have 2 full-timers, and me.
And you still edit video yourself, or
no?
is that
Hell no. Hell no. No, I can't edit video.
Do you still do the thumbnails? Do you do the thumbnails?
Oh, I do all the thumbnails myself. Yeah, I took that over. I went through like a lull in 2015, 2016, 2017, where it was like, why is my channel not growing? And Steve knows all this stuff too. I think we talk about, we used to call each other, and it was like when Peter McKinnon, who's probably the most well-known photo person in the world fucking now, which pissed me off, and I tell him that all the time, but it was like, it was so damaging to watch this kid come out of nowhere, 50,000, 100,000, 250, 500, a million within 9 months, and then just be, you know, it's a shock to your brain, and it makes you think, what am I doing wrong?
It's
and it wasn't
shattering.
It is.
It is. And it wasn't like, and I told him all of this stuff, and it was like, it's not like I was doing something wrong. There were things I was doing wrong that we've corrected. It was just the perfect storm for somebody to get big on YouTube when he shot up 3.5-ish, almost 4 years ago. And I called him on the phone. Well, I asked him to talk on the phone one day, and I called him like, do you know why all this is happening? He's like, not really. I'm like, here's my thought. My thought is, you made that first video that just popped, that how 90-second hacks photo things in 90 seconds, and it exploded. So you have a video that gets like a couple 100,000 views, and you got like 20,000. You got no subscribers. So YouTube's like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, this person must be great. You did the right thing. You followed it up with another piece of content, and it did really well. Now YouTube's like, holy shit, that's 2 videos. The guy's got like 500,000 views and has 10,000, 15,000 subscribers. Then you followed it up again. Oh, and he's in Canada, which means I think there's less competition in Canada, which means, and I don't know any of this for a fact, it just seems to be common sense to me, that if there's less competition in a country and you shoot to the top of that list, well, then the rest of the YouTube algorithms, like whatever they built through the rest of the world, is like, oh shit, this is #1 in this country. Holy shit, we better put it out to everybody else. And then it just exploded. And you're talking 20,000 subscribers a day, like 5,000 to 7,000 subscribers a day, and 100,000 a month, sometimes 200. And then, of course, the Casey Neistat integration, when Casey called him and he flew to like Copenhagen or Denmark, wherever the fuck Anne Frank's house is, and he went and they did a video, and it's just like even more because, and what Peter has is quality content. He's good at what he does. He's personable. I'm an asshole, and that's part of the reason, you know, I'm not always nice.
That's your brand.
That's your
But
brand.
I don't want the brand. Look. I just say it straightforward. It's personal. You know, people are gonna love you. People are gonna hate you. It's better to have 100% of people love you. As my dad would say, it's better to have 50% of the world love you, 50% of the world hate you, than to have 100% not give a shit. And that's always been the thing. You can't make everybody happy. You know,
I think we've all been through those periods, and I think where YouTube and you're right. You and I've talked about this on the phone before about, well, YouTube goes through these, or YouTube channels go through these kind of where you hit a peak, and then it's just going to drop down, and there's always going to be some guy who fires on all cylinders, and it's like you said, they don't even really understand why it happens, but for whatever reason YouTube says, yes, this is perfect, everything in this video is perfect, we're going to promote it, and then the next one, and you know, I've had guys, and it's demoralizing when you've been doing this since 2008 or whenever, and then somebody comes along and in 1 year they've just shot past you.
It seems that some channels kind of fit into Google's or YouTube's kind of sweet spot, and they end up being safe and produce good content. And it's just stuff that they can get behind. So they almost don't. We've kind of dipped in and out of that space because, especially during COVID, when there was lockdowns and whatnot, producing cleaning content and stay at home clean with me content was great. So therefore, almost every video that we released trended. And further to your point, Jared, we're in Canada. So trending in Canada is a much lower bar, but trending in Canada does alert the other international YouTubes of like, this is good content that's working over here. So yes, you're much more apt to kind of like trend worldwide when you're trending in one particular country. But you kind of go through waves. Like we go through for like maybe 3 videos or 4 videos where like kind of all 3 of them will trend in a row, and then we'll do content that we know we need to do because they all can't be zingers, as Primus said. And you kind of need to move on. You need to do something which is keyword driven, or something which is more of an archive video, or something which will just stand alone. And it's not going to get that pop out of the gate, but you need to do it as a creator because you need to have a balanced channel, and you need to pay attention to the people who are subscribing. And I was fascinated by your point where you're you're at 1.35 million subscribers. You can release a video that might only get 30,000 views. So from an outsider standpoint, they would look at that and be like, oh, what kind of video? You have 1.3. But anybody who's listening who is wondering about what the real metric is, it's watch time. 60% watch time is mind-boggling.
Or 70.
It's watch hours that make a difference. It's watch hours that get you trending. It's keeping people engaged for a long period of time. Casey Neistat said, I use clickbait titles and clickbait thumbnails because I know they work, and I know I have good enough content that once I trick someone into watching the content, they'll watch good content. So I loved what you mentioned earlier about, like, I just need to get you there, because once you're here, I know how to keep you. And I love the fact that you don't mind wearing rainbow short shorts or whatever it is. Like, you will do whatever it takes to be entertaining and different and stand out and be memorable. And I think that's also what kind of resonates.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has helped. There was the weirdness factor at the beginning, the sniff test, the wind tunnel test, just weird things when I'm reviewing gear. It's just odds and ends to do something different than what other people do, just to stand out. But to your point, we went through a period where every video was hitting 100,000 for a while. 2-3 months, we're like, what the fuck, man? We're getting great. We're doing, because the content was built around the release of like 5 or 6 cameras from different manufacturers. It was like September, October, November. They just all unleashed because they held up all their releases. But then they all just let them rip, and it was quality stuff. And I could go shoot outside safely, and I could post these things with good titles, and we were like 100,000 views and doing good thumbnails. And your point was sometimes you have to put out that other stuff. And there's what I call long burn content, the stuff that doesn't do well now, but it's the shit that brings people in tomorrow, down the road. Because if you don't do that, and if all you try to do, like, I look at a Philip DeFranco channel, right? Philip DeFranco's growth has stalled, but I think he understands that and has acknowledged that, and just lives in his world where he's getting 700, 800, 900, 1 million views per video, and those videos are dead within a couple days. Right. So there's not a lot of long burn content there. But, his subscriber growth didn't go, but the views are still, he's got, 15, 16 million views a month. So it's good. And then there's all the other things that you can do. So, we've got, there's certain content we know is not going to do well right off the bat. And it sucks, but if we do one of the more important videos that brings people in are these user guides. I've been making user guides for cameras since I started. Like, a new camera came out, I would make like a 12, 15-minute video. It was before you could record out from record at home, out from the camera into a recorder so you could record the back of the screen, the menus. Yeah. I had a Sony, one of those flat Sony TVs, tube ones, the Trinitrons or whatever the hell they were called. I set up my camera, and what I would do is I would film myself going through the menus and talking. Then I would turn the audio up after that recording. I would hit play, and I played into the TV, and I recorded the screen with my camera, my DSLR. So as I was saying it, I was replicating the movements again so that I had the menu, how to set it up. So anyway, some of those videos have 1 million+ views because they may not do well today, but the most basic cameras like the Nikon D3000s and the D3500s, those videos, people find those cameras 5 years from now at Costco's for like $2.99. And then they search for how to use it. And then they find my video. And so those videos just keep building long term. The Lens Initiative videos where I do reviews on every single lens may not do well today, but for the next 5, 6, 7 years, while they're relevant, they're continuing to get views. Photo News Fix, on the other hand, is dead after a week.
Right.
But those are the video. Photo News Fix is where I can do clickbait titles because it's the news. Nikon is failing to do X.
Yeah,
or
I like the titles on something. Is Nikon destroyed for good this time?
Oh, people love that video. Dude, the hate on that video was insane. And it's like, guys, could you watch the fucking video? Like, don't just comment on the headline.
But I'll bet you get these like brand fanboys. I mean, it's the same with tools in woodworking. And people, they just fall in love with a certain brand, and you mention another brand, and then there's just like this hate that just comes out. And what you got basically Canon, well, probably not so much Canon, Nikon, Sony.
You got Canon.
Canon, Nikon, and Sony. Those are like the big three, right? Or
Yeah, but then when you get Fuji in the mix, the Fuji fangirls are the ones that really bitch the most. I can't even make Fuji reviews anymore. One, Fuji won't send me gear. Japan has cut me off. They said, and I found out why. They're like, you said something negative about a lens in a review. And they told me which review, and I'm like, did you watch the review? Because I was glowing about your camera and what I liked about it, and you fuckers are going to pick one thing, and you're going to say, no, you know what? I don't know if we curse on here or not, but I did, so.
Too late for that.
we don't mind. It's not like we can monetize this or anything, you know. We're just
Also, putting up stuff like this on YouTube does not work.
Yeah, no. I mean, basically, well, we do the podcast we do both versions. We have a video version and then the audio version, and it's real interesting to see the different audiences for each one. I mean, the number of downloads usually kind of exceeds the number of video views. People are more interested in listening for the most part, except we had like one exception. We had Matthias Wandel on here, who's another woodworker. And a lot of that was just because people knew him from me. And so there was that kind of flow over. But for the most part, I mean, is that, you don't do a video version of your podcast. You just do strictly audio, right?
You actually do.
Oh, you do?
Well, I used to. We used to have Raw Talk. And Raw Talk was something that started years and years ago, and I didn't realize getting like 15 to 20,000 downloads of an audio was actually good. I had no idea at the time.
I'd love to get that many.
Yeah, but I didn't realize it, and I killed the show after a while. But what happened is I figured I have all these followers on YouTube. They should, I should record this. I should film it, and we did after like a couple of episodes. I was like, we set up one GoPro and then just did it. Right. And I would release the audio before so people could download it, and then I would release the video. And that was a thing that went on for like 7+ years. Then we did it. We had live switchers. We set up 6 cameras, and it was really good. We had personalities on the show. But those videos never like popped. So they stopped popping, and that's where Photo News Fix came out of, because the news was interesting. And so instead of having an hour-long podcast that we did live, I went ahead and just stopped doing that and made Photo News Fix work. And Photo News Fix took a couple years to get to a certain place, but it started off with like 12,000 views, 15,000 views. Then it was like 30,000 views. Then I took Photo News Fix out of the title because it didn't make any sense. Then I took Photo News Fix out of the thumbnail. Then I came up with a format. I'm on the left, and then we put the thing on the right, and then I would come up with clickbait titles. And my goal was to do like 50,000 views a video. And then we started doing 100,000 every Photo News Fix. And just because it's a 5 to 7 or 8 minute video, 5 to 7 minutes generally. I write it, I film it, Dan edits it, takes a little more than a day of editing roughly, and we put it out, and they will average 80 to 100 or more depending on the topic. And so that's that's good content.
Those videos, you script those out when you say you write them? Do you script them out, use like a teleprompter for those?
I do. Yeah, so I never did teleprompters ever, like with all of my content.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was your ability to just speak nonstop in a video with little or no editing, even when you do your reviews and these, is mind-boggling to me how engaging that is. Is that just a natural talent of yours, or is that something you just kind of honed over the years?
For whatever reason, the information is there, so I'm able to spew it out. I mean, my guys will edit me these days a little bit, but most of the stuff that I do, if I'm sitting at my desk, if I'm on set, we're recording a review of a camera, or we're downstairs on our store set, there's no teleprompters in those videos. Right. The only telepromptered videos are Photo News Fix, because it's a scripted video. It's that. Super duper important things where I need to get the words right, like sales videos end up being scripted so that it can be concise and to the point. And what I just call any of my scripted content, like I have one coming out on the social dilemma on, me, like.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, well, so I wrote a whole thing, we filmed it, and now we've got the B-roll that needs to go into it. But those are scripted, and the funny thing is my scripted videos tend to do better than a lot of the other videos because we're able to have we like build it around a better title. Like, right. I have a confession to make is what the other one is going to be when the social dilemma one comes out. and the watch time on those is almost complete, just because it's scripted, it's engaging, you're telling a story. And the thing that everybody needs to know as a YouTuber is we have a saying: if you say it, show it. So if you're talking about cutting a piece of wood, then you better be showing you cutting that piece of wood. And it's not just a talky video. And that's one of the things, to get back to a point I made a long time ago in 2015, 16, 17, as Peter was shooting up and I was just flatlining, it was like, well, I was doing more talky videos. I was still doing one video a day. And that probably burned people out. And it wasn't the best content. I was just getting it out to get it out. And so the more talky you do, the less interesting it is. And before we jump on to the next thing, as Peter was shooting up, there were other smaller YouTubers in the photosphere that were new that were shooting up as well. Very few of those that shot up have been able to sustain it more than 2 years. And I think that fast lightning growth is very difficult for people to sustain, other than Peter and a couple of other people. And so Peter's been able to.
You see that happen. Somebody will shoot up, and then it just kind of flash in a pan kind of thing, and it just
because it's easy to do after it's easy to do the thing that works over and over and over again. But sooner or later, you need to step up with the next new idea, and that's where really the rubber meets the road for most people.
Try doing that for 10 years and turn it into a business.
Yeah. Hey,
or several businesses.
When you mentioned Social Dilemma, I know that you're probably going to be talking about this in your video. And I don't know if
I did a whole podcast. I read the script on my podcast. I have a podcast I do. I call it the Daily Fro. Yeah. I got pissed off. Let me hold that thought. Okay. So I stopped doing the raw talk thing, but I still wanted to do some kind of podcast. And I tried to do this. I don't want to say what it is because I'm going to shit all over it. I wanted to do this thing. It was like a journal type thing, and it asked you questions, and you filled it out. I got fucking pissed off. I ripped it in half. I said, this is bullshit. So what I did is I gave myself a challenge. I'm going to, instead of writing this stuff in a book or on a paper, why don't I just talk to the microphone? And so for every day for 250 days in a row, when I was in Paris, I did it too. I mean, the girlfriend at the time wasn't. She had to tell me please, can you not do this every day or figure out a different time because I want to go to bed. But I was just talking and sharing what was on my mind. It was raw, and it's still raw. And so I don't do it every day, but I have ideas. I do them. I put them up, and people listen. I don't remember where I was going.
Well, I was going to ask you about your social dilemma. Have you, and I don't know if you want to, kind of spoil what you're going to be talking about there, but have you changed your social media habits because of that movie, or what is your thoughts on that?
All right. I haven't changed how I run the business.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't think that, because it's actually my dilemma is that very thing. How do I balance social media, but knowing that I have to use, and you've got a huge Instagram following too. So you have to keep that going.
Well, so for me, the reason I mentioned my podcast is I did read the entire script that's not out yet in one of my podcasts, because I like to read it, but also expand on it when I'm talking on my podcast so people can download and listen and interact. They can text me with that texting number, and then I can interact because I get some feedback that way. But my dilemma is, not only am I a creator, but I'm also a consumer. And so being a consumer and a creator is difficult, because you have to balance that. How much bullshit are you putting out into the world versus what are you sitting here just going through Instagram nonstop, which is a waste, and Facebook and doing all this bullshit. I mean, the points they made with, you notice it, I'm on dating apps. If you're not on the dating app for 8 hours, a notification pops up is are you still with us? They're literally trying to bring you back in, or you missed someone. And I guarantee you, if somebody dug into that or was a designer at those apps and no longer works at them, like a place like Bumble or Tinder or any of these, I guarantee you they send out false notifications that you missed someone to entice you to sign up to spend money to see who you missed.
So I watched the movie, and that was the first thing that I changed. I watched the movie, and I'm I need to make an immediate change right afterwards. So I stopped all the notifications. And the thing that fascinated me most about it was, I remember back in not even 5-6 years ago, where Facebook would send you a notification if you got a message, someone liked a comment, or whatever. Yeah. A notification in the little red dot or the number used to associate whatever. Now, here's some birthdays, some person you don't engage with just posted, like they're literally being like, hey, someone else posted a picture. It's not even of you, but just wanted to let you, and that classifies as a notification. And one of the things that they point out in that movie is it doesn't even matter if it's the app that you're addicted to. Once the phone gets you back in the matrix, once you're sliding through and picking the button, you're already, you're already back into the matrix, as it were.
So in 2010, when I started the YouTube, I'd get a notification for every comment, right? And I had an iPhone because we got those in 2007-ish, and I turned off notifications within a couple weeks of starting YouTube. I turned off email notifications because even though it would ping and I tried to ignore it, you knew it was there. Yeah. And so
it's calling you.
Yeah,
right,
it's
but, but I did that in 2010. I turned off email notifications. I don't have email notifications on my phone. I don't have app notifications on for just about anything. I got an Apple Watch. The only thing I like about, I mean, what I use it for is I can see what the weather's like. I can see when my Ring doorbell rings. I don't get emails, and I can get phone calls on it. Right? So I don't do any notifications on this thing. I'm riding my bike, I'll put on the heart monitor. That's it. Like, and so I posed the question in the video, like, what could I do? What could I do? Actually, I said in the podcast, and some people were like, well, you could have gotten the cellular version of the watch, and that way you could still have your phone with you and not have to worry about not being connected, but you are less likely to start swiping through this thing to look at Instagram or check emails or send texts because it's just impossible. And so as much as you want to be disciplined to not get sucked into it, it's impossible to not get sucked into it.
Well, it's easy to kind of think that, as a creator, you've got to be responsive to your audience. And so you have to be able to respond every time they want to get a hold of you. And that'll just eat away at your entire day. And you'll never be able to run a business if you do that.
Well, that was great when everybody wasn't an asshole. Back in the day, I replied to every comment because I had like 10 comments, right? It wasn't that hard when you first started. Now it's very difficult because you'll read 4 or 5 great comments and then somebody says something really stupid and it pisses you off, and then you have to stop reading comments again because you want to reply like, are you serious? And so you could have 100 great comments, and that one negative comment is the only one that you'll
it never goes away. You could be doing this for 15 years and it doesn't go away, and it still strangely hurts, and it just hurts in different ways.
Well, people think they're like, don't let it affect you. I'm like, look, it doesn't affect me, but for 5 minutes, it fucking pisses me off.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? Because you're human.
Right. And so don't sit here and tell me don't let it affect you, because you don't know what it's like to be in this position. You don't have that. And so, I'm going to get pissed off. And sometimes I'll tell someone to fuck off in the comments. I'll leave it public. What I used to do sometimes is I would type a comment to them, really nasty, send it to them, then delete both comments so that they get the notification and see my comment.
No one else sees it.
I don't give a shit if they post that publicly, because I'm not saying anything that's going to get me in trouble. I just said something damn harsh to like shut them up. That doesn't.
Full disclosure, I've done the exact same thing before.
A topic I do want to bring up as a YouTuber that you guys may notice is when they came out with the Studio app and they updated it, and you post a new video, and within like 20 minutes, it's telling you how your video's ranking from one, in comparison to your last 10.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, sometimes it says 10 out of 10, and it's like, basically, it's telling you suck.
Yeah,
that's what it's telling you.
I know. We've
it's
talked
like
about this.
It's like, I don't understand who designed this system, because they weren't a creator. But yeah, it's great. Your video's performing better. It's being viewed 143% more than your last one. Your video's underperforming, but people are watching it longer.
Yeah,
it's just like, shut up, YouTube. You're supposed to be helping us.
And what it'll say, your audience is showing much less interest in this video.
The best thing is they used to have little illustrations, and if your video was doing well, it'd be a little rocket ship going up. If it wasn't doing very well, it was a paper airplane slowly kind of falling off to the side, and it was all gray.
My feeling on this is that, one, it's bullshit, because we can look back at videos that were 10 of 10 that did really poor today, but a year down the road, they continue. And the reason I think YouTube does this is that they make their majority of revenue the first 24 hours, the first 48 hours. And that's why they want you to change your thumbnails and change their title and do this, because they want that CTR, the click-through rate, which is highly important. I love when I see it's like 15%. But the question is, are you damaging a video by using clickbait today because it won't be found tomorrow?
Right.
And so that's another one of those dilemmas with the YouTube world.
Do you have a YouTube partner manager?
They all suck.
I know they all do, but at this point right now, do you have someone who you're working with?
I do not have a dedicated partner manager. The only person I have is someone who actually followed my channel, who works for YouTube, I can say some things to them every once in a while.
You can get some inside information. So we seem to be one of the only kind of larger YouTubers still with direct access to a partner manager. And we've been through a dozen of them.
They suck.
And normally you would get introduced to one, and they would get into your channel
for 2
and
years,
tell
and
you
then
some
leave.
things. And within 6 months, the next Zoom call that you're having with them is like, yep, I've been moved on to a different group. We're going to toss you on to someone else. And you just got tossed around a whole bunch of times until the last one that did this, before we have the one that we currently have. We're just like, we're done. We don't need anybody else to reach out to and put all this work in, and you guys just like slough it off to the next person. The current person we have is fantastic. However, I think clearly the amount of channels that they manage are much, much, much smaller now. And perhaps it's because I'm in Canada that I have one.
Well, and Canadians are nicer. You know, they're like, sorry, we didn't
That's
have
what
a
it
good.
is. We
didn't have a
apologize.
Well, we're sorry. Well, we're going to help you here. Would you like us to send you some maple syrup and Molson Light?
You know Canadians very well.
All
of this to say is because we are still fortunate to have like monthly meetings with our partner manager, and we still kind of have like are kind of tapped in, and we are now at a place where the first 24 hours or 48 hours of video upload is basically irrelevant now. It certainly was the case for many, many years. That first 24 hours, get as many as you can. When you release the video on YouTube, go on Facebook, share it on your Instagram, slide up stories, get as many people there as quickly as possible. So I think what ended up happening is people realized that that's the situation. If you get good out of the gate, then you'll get into the recommended videos kind of area, and then you go from there. Now we're seeing videos which we think would do very well out of the gate, don't do very well out of the gate, but at day 7 or day 12 or day 15 now seems to be when they're picking up content, and it doesn't need to be absolutely fresh content. I don't know if they're being more selective with the content that they're recommending.
Searching. Maybe your stuff is longer burn because it's keyword heavy. Like it's what somebody would be searching for.
Yeah, and that could also be the case. I know that we are currently in a position where YouTube is not communicating directly with creators anymore,
unless they're the biggest of the big.
Yeah,
you're Mr. Beast,
or
Peter,
Casey Neistat, exactly,
or Casey, or iJustine, or the biggest of the big.
Peter McKinnon.
Yeah,
Peter McKinnon.
Well, when I had the YouTube partner manager, I think I had a couple of them, and then finally they said, "Well, we're not doing this anymore with you." I'm like, "Well, whatever," because really they were just kind of saying, "Oh, make
Get
better
your
thumbnails,
better. Work on your title,
collaborate. We want
Have
you
you thought
to
about making
collaborate."
new playlists?"
Ugh.
Whenever they would do the collaboration bit, I'm like, dude, do you understand? I'm working out of a garage. I'm doing woodworking. I'm building things. There's nobody to collaborate with. So you do these really weird, like, virtual collaborations. Other woodworkers will do this, and it never works. It's just dumb. It's so forced to do this.
One of the things I said to this YouTuber partner guy, he deals with a lot of the Spanish channels. I laid out a feature that would benefit us as creators so much more. Instead of just saying your video is doing a terrible job right now and it's not taking off, Facebook actually implemented this. I don't know if they released it yet, but split testing titles and split testing thumbnails.
Yeah.
Why can they not have an A/B test for titles and thumbnails where it's YouTube. They know instantly the CTR. They know instantly what's working. So I want to be able to put in 2 thumbnails, an A and a B. I want to be able to put in 2 titles, an A and a B. That when you hit go, it splits that, and it sends it out to however many it does. It does its thing, and within seconds, it knows that 500 people clicked this one, and 250 click that one.
Well, you can do that now with TubeBuddy. Chad and I are both using TubeBuddy, but you got to pay for it.
But further to your point,
Wait,
you know what? You're
but
mind blown. 1 year ago, they actually ran a beta program. We were a part of it. They chose 10 channels on the platform. I don't know how they ended up choosing them, but they ran a beta platform where basically you would upload two, it wasn't for titles, but it was just for thumbnails. And you would upload 2 thumbnails and they would give you real-time access,
yeah.
or they gave us real-time access to this. And it was great. We did it for 3 months or something like that. And it was wonderful to use. And it didn't go anywhere. So they certainly did test it, and it was apparently something that was supposed to be, but nothing has happened
I mean,
yet.
that and titles would be awesome, because sometimes the shittiest title that you think won't work can work.
To Steve's point, have you used TubeBuddy? Do you know TubeBuddy?
Well, I looked into back in the day but it only did split testing after a video was. It didn't do it in real time.
Yeah, that's the thing that bugs me is it doesn't start the test until midnight of the day.
It takes a few days to actually see the results.
And then you can't see the results until it's like
However,
processed.
for archived content, I mean, it's great. Just like I always have about 50 tests running, because like whatever, it's older videos. Like why would I not have, every day the thumbnail being switched out, and then after 2 weeks of testing, I just pick whichever one.
I think it's weakest on your brand new videos. For older videos, it works okay.
It ends up being washed out because you end up getting a bunch of subscribers out of the gate to a video. So your click-through percentages on the first few days of your video is going to be very different when you're feeding it to your audience versus something that's just sitting in search anyways.
Well, I guess, I've been using VidStats, or no, not VidStats. What the hell do I use?
vidIQ?
vidIQ. Yes, no, you guys like but
I used to use that one. I don't know.
I use both of them. I use vidIQ because they're really good for keywords. So whenever I'm doing tags or just looking for variations of keywords,
do they even matter?
I'm sorry.
I said, do they even matter? Because like I can see that the vidIQ stats, like this is a 50 for 50 for everything, and then the video just tanks. It's like it meets all the criteria.
And how does a Mr. Beast video or an iDubbbz video trend? And they don't even make a description, or they put some like a joke in the description, or just something completely random.
That's why that's why I don't fuck with the TubeBuddy stuff. That's why I don't worry about most of the stuff. I don't want to drive myself nuts.
I think that's the key. You have to do that. I mean, this year my video views have gone down because I've been producing more videos, and it's of a different type. But overall watch time is up on them, which is I think was really interesting. So it's like the people who are watching are really dedicated. They really want to see the content. And
perhaps they're also seeing you make content that you really want to make, so it's just more watchable in general versus you going through the motions and doing.
There comes a time where you just have to say, I am not really as interested in playing all of these analytics game, as I once was.
Very much so.
It's never ending, because I mean I can talk to the biggest YouTubers and get messages from them like, my video didn't do well, and you're like, but you'll still get 300,000 views on it. But it's the same. Even as you step up, you still worry no matter what.
You know what bit of advice you gave at that, going back to that same YouTube thing, and I don't even know if you remember this. I think it was somebody asked you about, well, how do I grow my business? How do I really make this work? And I loved your answer. You said, well, first thing you do is you get your ass off of that bar stool every Saturday and Friday night, and you work instead of doing that. And I thought, well, that's like some of the best advice, because that applies to running any business. Is you have to be willing to dedicate yourself to it, full time.
I think the story I would have told based off of that answer was, before I started YouTube, I would go to the bar, and it was like a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday, because it was something to go do. I didn't drink. Like, I never drank. I just stood there. But then I got to the point, I was looking at these people every day coming into this place, and I said to myself, what could I be doing with this time to better myself? And that was it. I'm like, I got the fuck out of there, and I just started focusing nonstop. Every day, I would wake up, make a video, edit, and by edit, I edited all the original ones. I didn't know how to edit, so I put an intro on the front, I put an outro on the end. Even if I messed up, it didn't matter. It was real, and I put it out into the world. So that was lunchtime. I would eat lunch, come back from lunch, repeat the whole thing, make a second video for the day, and post it, and then do comments till 2 in the morning. But it was nonstop, just honing that, just content after content after content. Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask before we wrap things up, what is next for you?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out my life nonstop every day since I was a kid. I still haven't figured that out. We went on the road with Bernie Sanders to do a project.
I wanted to ask you about that too. I mean, I don't want to get sidetracked here, but that was an amazing bunch of photographs, and it looked like you were like his personal photographer during that campaign.
I had all access. He had a photographer on the road, and I was asked to be that. Like, they asked me to pitch them an idea to come out on the road. I'm like, well, that's easy because they gave us access. And I want to do my 6 Degrees series for Netflix. It's 6 episodes a season. It's 6 degrees. It starts with, say, a Bernie Sanders, and we follow him around for a day, whatever, day and a half, capturing everything. My film guy's with me, audio guy, maybe a second shooter, make it a real thing with a producer, get interviews, which is what we couldn't do with Bernie, but get interviews while we're shooting, interacting. And the great part about it is, the 6 degrees part is, the subject gets to tell me where I'm going, who I'm photographing next, and that will determine where I go in the world. And so you discuss that off air, but you like, all right, who's the biggest person, most interesting person that would say yes? And I've done like 12 different degrees through, but it's harder with a team. It's harder when you have to have a crew with you, but that's what I want to do. I want to create that type of content. I'm a shooter at nature, and I don't shoot that much, but when I do shoot, I love telling the photo stories.
You did that a couple of years ago. You tried to do a pilot. I remember you went out to the Southwest,
the Grand Canyon,
and it's
a great episode.
It was awesome, and I was like so hoping that was going to develop into something more. But it sounds like you kind of have a similar idea with this.
Well, I probably didn't shop it around the right way or get it to the people, or it just was like, it was overwhelming because the difficult thing is, if you put your editing might behind an episode that may take weeks or months to create, what is that doing to your YouTube content? And so there's that mental thing in 2015 when we filmed that Grand Canyon thing, was like, oh, fuck, that took us away from doing X, and I didn't put out enough videos this week, and are people going to stop watching me, and are they going to forget about me? So I've probably damaged myself and certain things by that stuff. So it's hard for me to pick a direction and actually stick to it, because I'm always, I mean, the guys will know, like, one day it's like, we're supposed to do this. I'm like, nah, I want to do this today. So it's, that I don't know where I want to go, man. It's almost 10 years. I mean, it's over 10 years, actually. So I'm not sure. I want us to continue to do what we do, but I also want to make bigger and better content that can reach more people. And maybe 6 degrees is it. Maybe it's not. But, yeah.
How much do you binge?
I don't know the numbers because I don't. We never max. I never do maxes ever.
Oh, really?
No, maxing is bad. So
I hurt my back. I hurt my back maxing. I just started lifting a couple of years ago, and look at that. Look at those guns.
If you can't do, as my trainer, when I had a trainer, the original trainer, we would do everything 7 to 12. If you can't do at least 7 reps cleanly, then it's too heavy, and you're gonna hurt yourself. So everything for us has been, 4 sets of 7 to 12. And I don't know, it was 160 maybe we got up to, but it wasn't even a lot. Maybe it was 180. I don't even know, but if it didn't matter. It wasn't about how much you could do. It was about doing it right.
You look great. I mean, you must work out. How often do you work out?
Well, the gyms are closed.
Well, yeah, same here.
I bought a MI7 from this company called Hoist, and put it in the basement and started work. I stayed functional through lockdown. I dropped like 10 pounds, which then takes away some of your muscles, but it also took away the fat because I started eating differently in quarantine. And I got a new trainer again. 3 days a week he comes in, 6 a.m., unfortunately, but that's what he had available, and I'm dedicated to wanting to work out. And so I get up at 5:40, and I get into the basement, and I wear a mask working out, and he wears a mask coming to my house. So
yeah,
I'm dedicated to it. So 3 days a week doing that, and I started riding the bike during quarantine, actual road bike, and I've enjoyed that, doing 20 miles and burning a shit ton of calories so I can eat cupcakes.
You got a lot going on in your life, Jared.
Not really. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. I'm single, man.
Okay, this is one. I gotta have one last question. Just when I think this is gonna be it. Well, because we've been asking everybody on here, what do you do like free time? What is a hobby that you do, or do you have any?
I don't like. fucking single, and I'm not happy about it anymore. I bought a piano program from a piano YouTuber because
That's good.
I have a piano, so I've always wanted to learn. So I'm just practicing the fundamentals and basics, and I'm hoping that they can teach as well as I teach photography. I hope they can teach piano, and it's just that's something I'm trying. I was in a bowling league when the pandemic wasn't happening, and so I love bowling. The hobbies don't exist, and riding the bike became a thing, but that's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. But I can go ride with a friend, and then it takes longer, and we go 30 miles, and it's just like that's freeing because I don't want to get on the phone at all during that. You know, the phone stays on do not disturb underneath my seat, and it's just, I guess that's a hobby, but I don't know. I'm always creating, and
it's kind of it's a common everybody we've asked is that we're all kind of in that same boat where it's like we don't feel like there's really anything outside work, and then you get into something interesting in a hobby or something, and first thing you think of is, well, now how can I monetize this, or how can I?
Well, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I listened to him on a show once, and they're like, you need to find a hobby, and then he was like, well, why? I love what I do.
Yeah.
And hobbies are something that you found in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s when you worked your 9 to 5 and you went fishing because you worked so hard that you just needed time to sit and do something. But when it's what you love, why do you need to find something to distract yourself from the thing that you do?
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Especially when you have that attitude of like approaching each day with like, all right, I'm going to figure that. That's what I love about doing this. And that's what I've always wanted, I feel, in my life. Like even as a little kid, I was just like, I just want to be able to wake up and be like, today I want to paint, or today I want to do this, or I want to write, or I want to do this, or that. And it certainly all now starts to be the same kind of thing, but I still actually get to dictate what I do every single day. And that to me is a measure of success. One of the other things that we actually ask every single person who comes on is, where do you keep your gold play button?
Oh, it's downstairs in an egg pod chair. It's I don't hang it. I mean, when it finally came, it was like, cool, done. Sit it over here. I show it to kids that are interested in YouTube, and they, when like a family, not a family, but somebody you encounter is like, my daughter loves YouTube. I'm like, bring them to the studio, and they can hold on to the plaque. It's downstairs it's off of the set that we use for Photo News Fix. I have an egg chair down there. It's sitting inside of the egg chair.
All right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many kids want to get whenever kids come over and they see that, they want to take pictures and hold it and take pictures with it. It is.
Well, the thing is, you're old school because you've got the 100,000 original, 100,000 to the right.
Yeah, that one over there. Yes.
So I got one of those too, the original, and then I got the gold one like this. Did you?
I only hang them because no one knows who I am.
Yeah, but so I don't know if you know this. When the original one when I got the original 100,000, it came with a $500 gift card to B&H.
Whoa.
That did not happen.
Yeah. They gave us a $500 gift card to B&H to spend. Sorry, you're Canadian.
Yes.
YouTube's getting cheap now.
It'd be like $47 Canadian. No, actually, it's like the opposite. It'd be like $900 Canadian.
So,
Jared, I hope we could have you back on again. This was so much fun. I just wanted to keep talking forever, and I wanted to ask you like questions about like how we can improve this podcast since we don't really know what we're doing.
And I really wanted to dig deep on thumbnails because I really, really wanted to hear what your kind of thoughts and processes are with thumbnail design.
Can I go into that?
Well, if you come back,
you asked.
I did, didn't I?
I'll just give you the quick and dirty. I used to just do shitty thumbnails because I'm like the titles and people will watch me because it's me, or that YouTube back in the day would just automatically pick before you could even upload thumbnails. It would just pick something. So I took them over because I was trying to send them to a friend to do, but they just didn't get it. And so I've gotten better and better at Photoshop and making certain things pop. And the key for me is trying to find a uniform look for specific entities. So if it's Photo News Fix, I want it to follow the same thumbnail scheme every time because I want people to recognize it when they see that's what it is. Or when it's, and that's why I'll bring it all the way back to the beginning. Critiques are the hardest thing to do. I don't know how to put a thumbnail on it, and I don't know how to title. Right. And that's so difficult, yet it's a 20-minute video that gets 12 minutes of watch time or 14 minutes, and it's just hard to clickbait it and hard to put a good title on it. All right. Okay,
well,
time
thanks
to work.
Again, Jared. It was great having you on the show, and if anybody wants to follow you, definitely go over to froknowsphoto.com and, of course, check out his YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.